When we just relax our mind completely, the body doesn't even have to be relaxed. It can be completely unrelaxed, but just rest the mind completely. And to rest the mind completely means to just rest without descriptions. So when a description comes up, just continue to rest without elaborating on the description, whatever it is. If a thought comes up like, what am I doing here? Just rest rather than saying, oh, I should have gone to the market in Rishikesh today. Rather than allowing all the prescriptions and descriptions to proliferate, rest is that has no prescriptions or descriptions. And to rest as awareness means to rest as awareness, just to let awareness be as it is for short moments, repeated many times until it becomes automatic. So rather than trying to contrive or feign a period of rest, like sitting and just resting for a long time, rest repeatedly as awareness for short moments, repeated many times in all kinds of situations until it becomes automatic. And in this way, you will arrive at the point of awareness without trying to hold awareness or keep it. There'll just be wide open awareness all the time. So it's very easy. It doesn't need any special circumstances. Awareness already is the stuff of all circumstances. So, in resting as awareness for short moments repeated many times, that is recognized. And awareness, the short moments of awareness gradually grow longer. So initially there may be in the first day just a few seconds of awareness. And then the second day we might forget completely. And the third day it might be a minute of awareness. But just in this simple way, every day there will be more and more awareness until there's a half an hour, several hours, several days, a month, months, years. So the choice is to either get familiar with awareness in this simple, straightforward way. And once we begin to accumulate these moments, so to speak, we don't have to hold on to them like we have a big pile of awareness that we're hoarding, like a pile of gold. It's self-kept. It already is. So there's no one to hold it or keep it. And we don't have to worry about the I or the ego or the personality or any of this because that's only made of awareness. So when we go to awareness, we go right to the basis of everything we need to know about that. Whatever that is completely resolved through resting as awareness. There's nothing that needs to be done about it. The appearance of ourselves as somebody is completely taken care of in resting as awareness. If we try to force awareness, then through contriving it in a certain way, like by changing our behavior into good behavior, or changing our lifestyle into another lifestyle where it's going to be easier for us to rest as awareness, then we're just creating more and more conditions related to awareness. So we're saying that awareness can only be in certain conditions. But in a very simple way, we can already see that that isn't the case. Awareness is not dependent on anything. It is not based on conditions. Whatever your circumstances are, those are the perfect circumstances for resting as awareness. I know this is the truth because I know men who are in prison for life and on death row who are resting as awareness, so they don't need any special conditions. I know people in all kinds of circumstances all over the world, whether they're in prison, a physical prison or not, who are resting as awareness. And no matter how crazy your mind has been in your life, that's a prison of a sort, isn't it? To have a mind that's just filled with all these thoughts and emotions, that feels like a prison. So you see, there's not only the prison that's made out of those big cinder blocks with guards in the towers. There's the prison that's right in here. But no matter what your conditions are, no matter how frenetic your mind is or calm it is, no matter how crazy your emotions are or how calm they are, or how in between, wherever you live, whether you live in America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, it doesn't matter. Your circumstances are absolutely perfect for resting as awareness, whether you're starving to death or you weigh 500 pounds or somewhere in between, whether you have clean water or not. Whatever your circumstances are, they're perfect for resting as awareness. Now let's get right down to it. Whether you're having sex or not, that's a perfect circumstance for resting as awareness. Resting as awareness has never been bound by any conventional designations. It's the root of all conventional designations. So no matter where you are, what you're up to, I always have to say defecating because, yeah, that too, the root of that is awareness. We're aware of defecating. So no matter what it is, you see, there are no special circumstances. When we rest as awareness for short moments, repeated many times, regardless of circumstance, then we definitively begin to realize that we are not dependent on anything. Awareness is not dependent on anything. If we continue to apply conditions, say, oh, I have to be living in my special place in order to rest as awareness, or I have to have a special kind of job, where I'm feeding the hungry or something like that in order to rest as awareness, then you see we've instantly created duality, just more duality, just more points of view, or no, I'm not going to be a good enough person to know awareness unless I'm celibate. All of these are conventional designations that some people apply to awareness, but they never do apply to awareness because awareness isn't bound by anything. This morning it just occurred to me, what are some of these conventional things that we've come to believe? Like, we're all here in India, and in India there's an interest in resting as awareness. India is the only country in the world where there's been a focus for thousands of years on what's called self-realization. And in the history of self-realization, this practice that I'm talking about, resting as awareness for short moments repeated many times, is one of the oldest practices. It's at least 17,000 years old. And of all the practices, this is the practice whereby the most people have realized the essence of their being. Why? Because it's not taken to be anything other than what it is, the essence of being human. It's not locked in any tradition or anything. But yet somehow this that is always so easy has become lost in certain kinds of lifestyles that people somehow connect with awareness. So I wrote down a few words that are these kinds, they're like little threads, and very often we think, this really does have something to do with resting as awareness. I really need to be a certain kind of person in order to rest as awareness. And these are just a few things I wrote down, and I'm sure all of you can come up with other things or maybe even better things. Somber, solitude, silence, isolation, authoritarian, hierarchical, male, difficult, impoverished, austere, non-sexual, pious, severe, otherworldly, and ultimate. Well, now these are all things that, somehow it seemed to become very difficult for us to realize our natural state. And we have all these subtle ideas or overt ideas about what is required in order to do that. But, none of these things, a lot of these things, they really sound forbidding. So there aren't many people who would want to enter these kinds of lifestyles. And increasingly, there are fewer and fewer. But indeed, there is no lifestyle that's necessary. And all lifestyles are perfect. So I'm not saying to do away with what I've just described. Whoever wants to live that way, they can. And rest is awareness in that circumstance. That's fine. But what I'm saying here is that getting familiar with our true nature does not depend on circumstances. And if we just look at ourselves and say, here I am today, these are the commitments I've made in life. In other words, I've involved these other people in my life. They're my family members. No one has forced me to do that. I've said to these people, you're my family members. We're going to be together all of our life, and we're going to love each other and have responsibility for each other. That's what a commitment is. So, there's no reason to ever be outside that commitment that already is. If we say, I can only rest as awareness, if I give up all these commitments, then it seems like awareness depends on something. And awareness doesn't depend on anything. When people come to me and want me to be their teacher, there are many people who say, I've got to get rid of my family. I can't stand this kid or these kids. Got to get away from my husband or my wife or my job or whatever it is. And I just say, find another teacher. I'm not the one, because I know awareness isn't dependent on anything. And very often this matter is used as an excuse to abdicate responsibility for commitments we've made. But there's nothing that we have to change. There's nothing that need be done. Everything is perfect all at once, just the way it is. And, it certainly isn't gender biased or anything else. Everyone is aware, from the most recently born infant to the person who dies this very moment. It doesn't matter. It doesn't depend on anything. It doesn't depend on anything whatsoever. It doesn't depend on any condition or circumstance. It doesn't depend on any thought or emotion. It doesn't depend on any experience. It doesn't depend on anything. No matter what it is that appears, it's like a mirage. So to think that awareness is dependent on a mirage, that's kind of silly.